So, well, welcome to the Real Deal. This is a new podcast that I have created. Um, I want to sort of be looking a little more transparent into, real estate finance and mortgages. Um, what I really want to accomplish here, well, we'll probably fine tune it later on, have some fun examples. But I have Martin Lydon, and I've got Sam with me as well. Sam, you're a mortgage consultant,
I
and
am.
how many years? I mean, you do all my mortgages for me, so
Yeah, I've been in the business for 25 years now.
wow, 25 years. And Sam
Mhm.
handles all of mine. Is Martin Lydon as well. Um, and correct me, Martin. I keep getting the initials wrong. Is it VMF? Or
VFM.
VFM. So yeah, I always get those two backwards, right? Consultancies, yeah.
And
So Martin does. So Martin, I think you were doing what? You've done mortgages, you've done finance, you have done insurance. So you seem to have you have a knack to do everything.
I guess when you're in the financial world, you get asked for a lot of different things, right? And
Yeah,
sometimes I have the knowledge to do it, and other times I'll get other people involved. But yeah, I mean, when I talk about finance with people, I say it's a bit like the Olympic rings. You've got all these things in isolation: your home, your mortgage, your plans for retirement. What happens if you don't make it to retirement? If you pass away too early? What happens if you only die a little, where you're not there, so you can't claim your life insurance, but now you can't work? What does that look like financially? And it's a bit like the Olympic rings. Each of these items can be taken in isolation, but they all touch each other and they all
yeah.
impact everywhere in your life. So when you're talking about finances with people, there's so many things that you can bring to the table that will make their overall financial position stronger.
Yeah, and this is why I wanted to create, right? Because the in the real estate world, right? It's everybody's saying the same thing, right? We're all talking about, oh, rates are going down, rates are going down, rates are going down, but that's all we're talking about, right? Where there's so much more. This is almost like a financial trust group, right? That we're creating here because I think there's a lot more detail that goes into it, right? We have the financial side of it. How do we save for down payments? How do we work for our retirement? And then Sam's in there, trying to figure out again, how do we get this mortgage? How do the rates impact these people? We have first time home buyers, downsizers, right? So it's just sort of looking at widening the scope here of what we're talking about to be able to give people the right information. So that's what I'm trying to create. And then maybe there'll be some stuff a little bit on the lighter side as well. That'll happen. Um, but sort of transitioning into it, it's both of you doing have done mortgages, or both of you doing mortgages, and this was really cool. I came across this a few weeks ago, and I was saving this. I was going to do a video on it, but I was saving it for this podcast for you guys, right? So the word mortgage, right? Do you guys know where it is actually derived from?
I did not know. No.
So here, if we put it on screen, this is unbelievable. This is quite amazing. I absolutely love this, right? So the word mortgage, right, has roots in Old French and Latin, and its literal meaning, surprisingly, is ominous, and it means death pledge, right? Which is phenomenal. So you get the French word mort, which means dead, and gage means pledge, and I guess this was because I guess you either died or you defaulted. Right? So, 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 I just found it just very humorous to figure out that the word mortgage had meant death pledge. I don't know if you guys had known that or not.
I did not, but it makes sense. It's a long-term commitment. So,
It's a very long-term commitment, isn't it?
and
So,
the word mort in Italian is dead, in Portuguese it's dead, Spanish it's dead. So that word mort is a definite, it's a Latin word, so it makes sense now.
yeah. So, So when you're now directing people doing mortgages now, you're going, oh, great, you're now making a death pledge.
Right.
Which is
Introduction into life insurance, Julian.
there you go. See, yeah, into the life insurance, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. So just to set the scene, this is something that's really really cool. So I'm going to play this video, guys, and then what I want you to do is obviously just follow the instructions. Not very long, but I want you to follow the instructions on it, and then I'm going to tell you sort of why I did this and how it's going to relate back to the podcast, what we're trying to achieve here, but more, well, for me, importantly, how I want to change the narrative within the real estate world. So have a look at this video.
The monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball. The correct answer is 16
Did you guys
passes.
both get 16?
No.
Did you spot the gorilla?
Did you guys see the gorilla?
For people who haven't
No.
seen or heard about a video like this before, about half missed the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game? Let's rewind and watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. And that's the monkey business illusion.
That, I thought was incredible. I had that happen to me. I didn't see the gorilla. I didn't see the player leaving, and I certainly didn't see the curtain changing color. And I think this video, the monkey business illusion, it highlights how focusing on one thing can cause people to overlook the unexpected. And in real estate, specifically, many agents will focus solely on the transactional goals, like securing listings or closing deals. And then they're missing critical aspects, the critical aspect is truly serving your clients. And there might be some missed opportunities there, right? Missed opportunities like, listening to your clients' needs or providing them with actionable information or even just building trust. And I think that comes into the financial world as well. And this is what I want to do. I want to change the narrative because I think in the real estate world, and you guys can speak from the financial standpoint as well, but from the real estate world, I think that we're very busy focusing on those players passing the ball, and we're missing the gorillas, and we're missing the curtain changing, and we're missing the the players leaving the field, and we're missing things because it's such a transactional business now, right? We're all fighting for that one listing, and then we get the listing on and we get it sold and we move on to the next, and we're not listening to our clients. I guess, Martin, in the financial world specifically, I guess you may relate to this, right? In terms of, focusing on one thing and not being ready for the unexpected, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a great point you raise, I think, because when people are making a massive decision of spending 500,000, a million or more on a property, that's a big commitment. And so what's the best way to set it up? Not just from the house purchase, maybe the sale of your previous house, the mortgage that you have, but also how are we going to put you in a position where maybe you take the mortgage over 25 or 30 years, but what plans have we got in place to try and speed that up for you? And you can do that within the mortgage, and you can do it within other planning as well. So there's lots of things that are available out there for people to take advantage of. It's just a matter of setting people up so they make the most of what they already have. I'll give you an example. I went to see someone, um, uh, a client who was looking to buy an investment property. And what we did was we restructured all their lending so that they paid off their residential mortgage and took out a larger mortgage than they had anticipated on the investment property. And what that meant was all of that mortgage was now a tax deductible expense, and they didn't have any mortgage on their residential property anymore, um, which is non-tax deductible. So all we did was basically relocate the loan to a different property, and
Wow.
suddenly they had an over $2,000 extra per month in their pocket, and we were able then to put some plans in place for their retirement with that extra cash. So just
Wow.
having that overall discussion about where are you now, what assets do you have, can we reallocate something to put you in a stronger position? And that's the type of discussion that I love having with clients. It just takes it to a new level.
Yeah, you do things similar, Sam, or you seeing this in your industry where people are focused solely just on one aspect. I mean, I think that's why we say to people, go to a mortgage broker instead of going to a bank, because I think at the bank, I mean, they offer good products, but they they're they're missing the gorillas, right? That you potentially can see, right, Sam?
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny in our business, most clients are fixated with 5-year term, 5-year term, 5-year term. They just don't know any better because most lenders all they want to sell is 5-year terms. But I think really you need to sit down and figure out what that client needs, what his risk tolerance is, and from there determine what the best product is. I learned a long time ago from one of my mentors that in our business, you're managing people's fears, and that resonated with me so much back then. When somebody comes to you, they just really want their hand being held, and for me, it's all about managing their expectations and managing their fears because they're coming to you for a reason. So for me, it's really important to sit down, do a needs analysis, and figure out what exactly they need. And most times, it's not a 5-year fixed mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this before, there weren't we, Sam? About they're saying now, what is it? So the variable rate mortgages are going down, but I read somewhere the other day that it looked like fixed mortgages might actually be on the up as opposed to the down.
Yeah. So the majority of people take a fixed rate mortgage, but historically, over the last, let's say, 25 years, variable rates have always outperformed fixed. I have graphs, I have stats to show this. I'm big on numbers, I'm big on following stats. So there is an element of risk involved with taking variable over fixed, but historically, and history has a funny way of repeating itself. Um, the variable rate would always or has always outperformed fixed. And you're right, prime is expected to come down. It has come down. There's still more runway for the Bank of Canada to reduce rates. But in the short term, we've seen an actual uptick in fixed rates. And that's because the bond market during these last few weeks with the US election coming to a head has actually created a little bit of uncertainty. So bond yields have crept up. So fixed rates have also crept up a tad. So I'm a big fan of variable, but it really depends on the client's risk tolerance and where they are and where they're going, right?
Yeah, I think you sort of experienced that when you worked with myself and Tina and Colin, my fiance and stepson, right? Because we had that choice too. We just got a mortgage just a few months ago, and we could see that the rates were going to be coming down. Now, you see what's happened. Our payment in the last 3 months has gone down by over $200 a month.
It has, and I remember explaining it to you back then. I said, out of the gates, you're going to be behind the 8 ball temporarily because of where prime is. But if you weather the storm and allow prime to organically drop, you will benefit in the long run. Now, that was my recommendation for you and Tina because I understand your risk tolerance and your
Well,
income control.
hers certainly wasn't anywhere near where mine is.
Right, right. But that doesn't mean even though I'm a big fan of the variable rate product, doesn't mean I would recommend that for everybody. Again, it comes down to that sitting down with the clients, holding their hand, figuring out where they are, where they want to be, and so yeah, it just because I like that product, it doesn't mean it's right for everybody.
So I did an open house on Sunday, and it was interesting. I had a couple come in, and they said, "We're not looking for me. We're looking for our daughter." So they were the neighbors, and I went next door when I was done the open house, knocked on the door to find out some more information. And of course, the daughter's living in the basement, and the son, the boyfriend, is living at home as well. And both sets of parents want to get rid of their kids, right? And they want them to they want them to buy a house. I got rid of my four, so I celebrated early, so that was good. But you know, but I have the same issue. They're all renting, and I want to get them on the property ladder, same as these parents. But um, when I asked them, the very first thing I asked them was, what are so if both parents, so they told me both sets of parents are willing to help out in terms of providing the deposit. um, but I said, have they spoken to a mortgage or a financial person, and any description at all? And they said no. And I said, well, we need to get them excited, and they need to know what what they're up against, right? So we need to talk to a mortgage broker. We need to find out what they could be eligible for. We need to speak with somebody like Martin as well to say, okay, well, what can we do in order to, help them, save? Are they 6 months out, 12 months out, 18 months out? Or how can we help the parents find the money where they may not know the money is in order to help their kids, right? So I thought that was an interesting topic, and just looking, I guess, from your perspectives as well. I guess with Martin, you did a great job with your kids, right? I mean, they're on the property ladder. I mean, you taught them very, very well. But what was it? What was that advice? What did you get them to do?
Well, it's difficult, right? We live in Burlington. Average home prices are north of $1 million. So I thought, well, 5, 6, 7 years ago now, I had a particularly good year at work. So I had some bonuses, and I thought, what am I going to do with this money? So I put some away for my retirement, and then I thought, you know what? Let's get the kids on the property ladder. So what we did was, and it wasn't easy to do, but at that time, the prices for a townhouse in Burlington were about 500,000, and so we bought.
Wish they were there now.
Well, yeah. The thing about house prices, you can get on the ladder. In the last 20 years, Sam, you probably know this better than I do, but in the last 20 years, I think every 10 years, the house prices have doubled in our area, in the Golden Horseshoe, pretty much, give or take a year. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I buy the townhouses for them now, which sounds like a grand offer, but with 20% down on 500,000, we borrowed a bit of money, and we were able to move some money around, and we did it. So we had 400,000 mortgages, right? And the kids, we rented one out because our son was a bit younger, but my daughter moved into the one house with 3 or 4 friends, and they rented it from us. And the rent just about covered the monthly due. I think we were out a couple of $100. 5 years later, my daughter is now married with a son, and they wanted to buy the townhouse. So what we did was we sold it to them for what we bought it for. And this is the important point. You need to get a legal document ahead of time so that you're not hit with the capital gains tax. So there's ways to manage that as well. We bought it, and they paid us back what we had bought it for, plus the down payment that we put in, and they kept the equity. So they after I think it was 5 years for my daughter, about 7 years for my son, they walked into it with about 200,000, 250,000 of equity. And what did it cost us? It cost us a bit of money up front, which we got back 5 years later, and then a couple of $100 a month. So with proper planning and understanding about the assets that you have, and I took a look at the assets we had, and I said, this is important for me to do. There's an opportunity for people to put their kids on the property ladder without spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, but do it over a timeline that makes sense, and then pass on the equity to the kids. So that's what we did, and it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, what kind of advice are you going to give either the parents or the kids here in terms of, getting them ready and getting them out to? I mean, I would have suggested the first thing to do is to talk to you, right?
Yeah, and it's funny, we have in society we have that shiny ball syndrome. It seems, and I feel sorry for people like you and Amber. When clients want to buy a house, the first thing they want to do is bug the realtor and waste the realtor's time showing them all these homes. But really, step one would be to either see somebody like myself or Martin, so that they're prepared, and they better prepare you for what their expectations are. But I find it's interesting how clients just want to call that realtor and say, hey, I want to go see this house. And the first question you're going to ask, or you normally ask, is, have you been pre-approved? And sometimes they say yes, and sometimes they say no. But I think step one is, let's talk to a mortgage broker. Let's talk to a financial planner. That's what I think. But to Martin's point, I love that story. And I find that most people who come to me that are buying an investment property, I would say answer number one to my question is, when I always say, why are you doing this? The number one answer would be for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's for their kids immediately, or whether it's for them down the road. But I think most people's answer would be for their kids. And I'm seeing a lot of people doing that today. They might have kids that are 10 years old, and they're already buying homes for them unofficially. So
Yeah.
that's a great thing. A great story, Martin.
Yeah, it's the thing that we have to do. So, I mean, from a real estate standpoint, I'll be honest with you. Look, I've worked with people for 2 years before they've transacted. I mean, I truly believe that's our job. My suggestion was to speak with somebody like you, Sam, mortgage broker. Find out what are they actually qualified for. This house that they were looking at was 600,000. Okay, well, how much are the parents going to pay? How much do the kids have saved up? Is there enough for a deposit? Can they do 550, 500, 600? Where is it? And then, to be honest with you, to get these kids more educated and to maybe even get them excited is to, even though if they're 12 months away from buying a home, if they're qualified for 500,000, we should take them out and show them what 500,000 looks like.
Of course.
And if 500,000 isn't what they were expecting and they want 550, well, now we know what they need to achieve in order to do it. Look at mom and dad are only going to pay 25 each, right? So there's 50, but you guys need another, $12,000 if you want to go up, to the next level. So you all have to go and find $6,000 each, right?
And I'll say this to your point. Any realtor that would say, hey, I've got clients, but they're not ready till next year. The first thing I say is, don't wait. Get them in, see me now. I don't care if it's going to take 6 or 12 months. Let me get them on a roadmap today, because who knows? Maybe there's a blemish on their credit. Maybe they don't realize that if they put money into an RRSP, they would get a tax refund that they could also pledge towards their down payment. There's so many little tricks of the trade that I think somebody like myself and Martin would be able to add that a lot of people don't know. Like, for example, anybody who has money today that's looking to buy a home, whether it's 20 or 30,000, if it's in cash, one thing to consider, and Martin would know more about this than me, is throw that money into an RSP. Because for every $1,000 they're putting into an RSP, depending on their tax bracket, they're getting $300 back for every $1,000 they're contributing. So if you're contributing $10,000 into an RSP, you're getting $3,000 back when you file your taxes next year. That's $3,000 extra you can pledge towards your down payment.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we talk. That's why they need to talk to both of you. I mean, that's what I had suggested too, right? Is to is for them to get in touch with you, Sam. Let's get the kids excited. Let's get them, thinking about it, because we can't do anything while it's just mom and dad going to open houses looking at, for their kids, right?
Mhm.
You've got to get a financial plan in place, exactly as Sam says. The mortgage market, I used to deal with it. I don't anymore because it was too much for me to focus on the investments and life insurance and the mortgages. It was a massive job. So Sam, to stay up to date with the mortgages and understand the financial world around it. Myself, I can add some value on. Let's look at what you've already got and see how we can readjust things and make this as painless as possible. There's normally some pain involved. Let's not be too frivolous about that. There's going to be some financial pain somewhere along the way, especially when you're looking to buy in our local area. But have the open discussion with people who understand how the financial world works, and let us help you make the most of what you've already got to achieve what you want to achieve.
Correct.
That's the bottom line.
Correct. And you know what, Martin, it reverts back to your initial story, right? Where maybe we're not just here to educate the kids at this point. Maybe we need to educate the parents, because they may have the ability, they may have something there that you could do. Like you said, you guys got creative, got rid of the home mortgage, right? And moved it onto the investment property, things like that. There might be something creative, and then that will actually maybe take maybe a little bit of pain away from the parents.
Absolutely. There's so many things you can do, and people are so unaware of it. The RSP idea. I mean, you can do a withdrawal, a tax-free withdrawal out of your RSP to help fund your down payment on a property. So you're getting tax-free growth, you get tax relief on the contribution, and then you can do a tax-free withdrawal to put towards your property purchase. Very underused still in Canada. But there's all sorts of you've got to want to achieve something different from where you are right now, and be honest with your advisors, whether mortgage advisor or financial advisor or realtor, and open yourself up so that they can help you. That's the bottom line. There's nothing that gives me greater satisfaction, and I'm sure it's the same with you two as well, than helping people understand what they've already got and creating even more with it. That's just a wonderful thing to be able to do.
This is what I want to do in the real estate market, right? I want to be able to change that narrative, and I want to be able to help educate people and get them to where they want to be. And it goes back to the beginning for me. I think that this business is very transactional, and a lot of real estate agents, if it's not now business, they don't want that business. Right? They're looking for the for sale sign in the lawn within the next 3 months. They're looking for the buyer who wants to buy right away. They're looking for that next commission all the time. And I think getting a group together like this, I think is going to be very beneficial for my clients, down the road. And I don't mind taking a little bit longer to work with people in order to get them to where they are. So I've taken up enough of your time this week, guys. I think that was a really good start. Thanks very much for time. This is something that we want to do ongoing every single week. There's obviously lots of topics. Martin, you just touched on one that we could talk about next time. And then, so next week, Sam, we can also, I think there's a lot going on in the mortgage world that we didn't get a time to talk about right now, that I think needs addressing, especially with Trump's great announcement last night about the 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico, and what that could potentially do to not just the economy but the real estate and the financial world.
Happy to be here.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Cheers now. Bye bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.